say since the Lord released me to be able to come out here and make these messages, there's been like a sense of not only fulfillment of purpose. Finally, there's so many things I want to talk about, so many things that have been in my spirit to say, but I haven't been just silenced. You know, and I'm like, oh, I know the answer, and it's like sitting in the background and you can't answer because the teacher say, no, not you. Class, and you're just sitting there like, really? And that's what it feels like. So, yesterday I joined a Good Sisters Live, and there was a comment that I made in regards to the camel. The scripture in regards to the camel entering into the eye of the needle. So that's what's funny. It was like keep talking, I keep tiptoeing around these rich conversations about wealth and wealth is wicked, stored up for righteousness, and different other things that keeps touching this wealth. There is a wealth transfer that will happen. So y'all know this ain't scripted. Yeah, you know this ain't scripted. So, you know, I'm spinning around right now in Miami, and I'm trying to get out the city. And for some reason I keep spinning around and around and around. So what's happening in the spirit with this word is what's happening in the natural. And part of me just wants to just stop and just put this thing out here, but don't flow with it, don't roll with it. All right, so the Torah. We're talking about the rich man. It is harder for a rich man to enter into the kingdom of heaven. It is harder for a camel to enter into the eye of the needle than it is for a rich man to enter into the kingdom of heaven. All right, understanding of the scripture. We heard the scripture when we was kids. Some of us, anyway. I mean, I'm not really talking to the newer generation who wasn't sitting in Sunday school. You didn't sit on Sunday school and have to have the Sunday school speech and all that, the Easter speech, and you wasn't involved in church to that extent. You know anything about this. So you just heard the scripture and it's like, wow, that's really messed up. But money answers all things. Two, it is neither evil nor is it good. Okay, it's what you do with it. It's the love of money, which is the root of all. Okay, but because of the love of money, what will you do for a client that car? Okay, that was a reference to a commercial that's really cheesy. What would you do for a client that car? Whatever, I don't know. I don't even know that commercial still plays, but it just goes to show how old I am. That's okay. Y'all bear with me. And that's what it is. That's what it comes down to. Will you compromise yourself for the love of money? Will you compromise your values for the love of money? Okay, so let's go back to the eye of the needle deal, so we can talk about this. So it was because the eye of the needle is really the city gate, okay? And in those times, because they had marauders, which are guys riding on horses and swords and camels, because we're talking about desert land, you know, and they'll come in with a war camel and, you know, try to take over the town, the village, or the city, all right? So to protect them from that was the city gate. Now the gate was low. It's like for a truck driver, it'd be a low viaduct. It's going under a low viaduct with a load that only fits directly under the viaduct, flush. So the camel could fit But there's two things that would have to change. If you're a rich man, first off, if you're a rich man and you had servants. So therefore, you was riding on the camel, and your servants was guiding, or walking with the camel. All right. Here's the problem. You have to get down from off your camel. Yeah, that sounds like humility. You got to get down off the camel to be able to go through the same way the servants go. Second, most of the time, the camels are carrying weights. They're basically desert. They might as well be desert donkeys because they can carry a whole lot of stuff on their back. But understand, the camel is a very tall creature. Okay, so because of its height, on all fours, it was so tall that when you put all that stuff on the top, you pile all that stuff on the top. We're talking about rich men, so they're carrying a whole lot of comfort, a whole lot of luxuries. It's kind of like you're going camping and you know that you got to be out there in the elements, and you're gonna take everything that's gonna make life comfortable. You're gonna take everything for trade, because that was talking about a bartering system. Money was trade, and what do you trade? Your gold wares, you trade. See, I'm back at this location again, and I'm trying to make sure I go through the right way. You better be taking me the right way. Nope, you're trying to send me off. See, sometimes the GPS will do that. It'll send you on a tangent, and now you're sitting up here looking stupid because you're like, hold on. It didn't switch until I got to the exit. Okay, so I think I'm good. All right, so back to the toilet. Back to the camel. All right, so the second thing is that because of all the stuff, the luxuries, the stuff that you accumulated, that you're gonna go trade into the city gates, because that's what they do. It's a mercantile city, so they're looking to sell the wares, sell the pottery, sell all this stuff, and they got all this stuff that they're going to sell and make a lot of money off of it to go back to do whatever, or even if it's to buy grain, whatever. Okay, all that stuff has to get unloaded. It looks like the airport, we all standing in a line trying to get to the metal detector. Now imagine a metal detector going on because this guy is carrying stuff on him, on his body, piece by piece, is metal, and we all got a long line, we all ready to catch our flight, we can't catch it yet. So all that stuff has to be unpacked. So all that stuff has to come off that camel in order to the camel to go through. And now all the stuff has to be carried through. It ain't worth your time. So it is harder for a rich man to enter into the kingdom with all that stuff than it is for a camel to enter the eye of the needle. Now, when the disciples heard that, it's like, man, to be saved. I believe it says that. Don't quote me, man, because I would have to look that up in the synopsis to find it again. But off the top of my head, I want to say that they had that question themselves about it. All right, so let's go further into this. Where am I going with this? That was for the rich man. That was for understanding that the things that you have and you've accumulated, you're not taking with you. But you know that already. But there is a point where you have to understand that you have to get rid of the burdens and the weights and the stuff that you carry as well. You have to come to a place of repentance as well. And if you don't see that it's wrong, can there be repentance? Repentance is a change of mind. Repentance is metanoia. It is a change of mind. So how can there be repentance if you don't change your mind? I'm not really here to talk to you, sir, or ma'am, if that's the case. That was your portion. I'm over here to talk to my sisters. Y'all way about me after this is over. But I'm gonna give you what was given to me according to Scripture. And all I can say is look it up. If you feel some kind of way afterwards, then hey, I understand. But look it up. Now, rich men have options. Rich men have choices. Kings have harems. But what does that look like today? That looks like Billionaire Playboy. It looks like Batman. Billionaire Playboy, philanthropist. He balling. And he got a different chick on his arm every time. Because those guys usually don't want to share their wealth, and they definitely don't want to lose it. Alright? So they have options and choices to keep them from doing that. Now, here's the problem. All of the women, they want to be the one. So he just picking through them like, well, this one do that thing, or that one do that thing. For a godly woman, that's not your portion. Why? Because you're not supposed to defile yourself to be able to find out if that's your person. That's why. Look, there's the problem. Now, you got to understand that the world is looking for the same thing. The women of the world are looking for the same thing. They're looking for the bag. And when I say the bag, I mean they don't want to go home with a bag. Because that's usually going to be the prize. You get with the guy, he might take you shopping, he might give you a bag. He's going to give you a lot more after the day is done. And then you go home with that bag. And he gets to go play. And who knows? You get called when you're back in town. I don't know. But this is, oh my goodness. This is not even recorded. If it is, then you probably heard all the issues. I hope this is better, and I hope this works. If it didn't, then I have to re-record this, and that's gonna suck. But hey, it is what it is. So these are the technical difficulties that you start out with. So this is my this is my beginning. So despise not the day of small beginnings. So I ain't gonna despise it and keep on rolling. And I apologize for those that hung with me for these 13 minutes to get to this point, to finally hear this clearly, and was probably screaming at the screen, dude, we can't hear you. Well, hopefully you can hear me now. Anyway, I know you can hear me, but it might have been a little messed up because I got air conditioner and I got the fan blowing. Whatever. All right, so back on this deal. All right, so see, I go on a tangent and lose my train of thought. All right, so the women of the world are looking for the same thing. They're looking for to be picked. Okay, they're looking for the option. In my beautiful black community, which I am very much a part of, and very much proud to be a black man. Okay, in spite of all the things that we've endured, I'm grateful that I exist in this shade of melanin. All right. Although sometimes I wish I was a little bit darker, because I know y'all love some Idris out here in these streets, and y'all definitely, is really into the Morris, old Morris chestnut. I didn't get that complexion. So what? So forget y'all. Anyway, I'm me. All right, so there's a small percentage of us that are in the six-figure. Of them that are in the six-figure range. So you got a lot of women that's competing for the spot, and they have a lot of choices. And if they don't know Jesus Christ, and if they're not in a position of submission to God, they live in like Hakeem off of Coming to America. sowing his royal oats. Okay? And that's what it looks like. Royalty, I mean, in a sense, you look at a king and you don't realize today's time, the king is no more than the men that have people that's under him, or he runs the company. That's a king. You got the ability to be able to make changes. You got the wealth to be able to do that. So wealth comes power, and power comes, power plus authority equals dominion. So this is what it is. But when we see that, we're looking at that now. You're trying to compete, and you're trying to be in Esther. Let's talk about Esther, because that's really what I want to get into is Miss Hadassah. Miss Hadassah has changed her name because the people, her people, are being oppressed by this kingdom, which are the Persians. Okay? They changed your name to exercise dominion over you. So therefore you take this good old Hebrew name and now you're going to change it over to Esther. How do I know that? Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. What's their real name? What's Daniel's real name? Well, Daniel's real name is Daniel. This is the name that they gave him was Belteshazzar, I want to say. And I'm not even gonna try to quote the three Hebrew boys, because y'all know that y'all can look their names up. Study to show thyself approved unto God. All right. So anyway, so this kingdom has exercised dominion over them. It's the same as, what's your name? Kunta Kinte. No, your name is Toby. All right. So that's exercising dominion over people. And because of that exercise, now you are subject to them. You are submitted to them. In that submission, she was given favor. They were already in a bad situation. She was given favor. Okay? And God favored her. Almost in the same sense as the way he favored Joseph. Okay? We are talking about an orphan who was raised by her cousin Mordecai. Cousin Mordecai was in the guard. Everything was on the hush about who they were as a people. All right, they're blending. They don't want no friction. They don't want no smoke. Okay, so this woman, she goes and she's now in a harem, basically, as a concubine to the king, and eventually becomes a queen, because the previous queen, Queen Vashti, which is a representation of the enemy, the adversary, the devil, in that she would not humble herself or humble her glory. She looked at the men of that time as beneath her, not the king. She knew her power came from the king. But she was not about to be naked or humble herself, derobe herself, show her submission to her king in the sight of those that were not worthy to look upon her. So when David danced before the Lord naked, now you get an idea of what that was. I humble myself before you as king, to recognize you as my ultimate king and before the people. That was something Saul was not able to do. But anyway, back over here on Esther. So that's what it was. Okay, God gave her favor, put her in the right position amongst the right people to be able to be a deliverer of her people, because she had the ear of the king, because God gave her favor with the king, in spite of the fact that her being in a position where Haman had the ear of the king, who was a representation of the accuser of the brother, or once again, the devil. You see him, and he's jumping off the page in different places, but we don't, sometimes we don't notice him. The lust of the flesh, the lust of the eye, and the pride of life. You got to remember, it comes in those three ways. He is, he's subtle, but the last one is the pride of life, and that is the most subtle of all, because don't I deserve it? That's what the question is. Do I deserve it? And the truth is, you do, but in God's timing. Now, will you take it before the time? Pride of life. Anyway, that was the whole. I will teach that one day. One day, waiting on the Lord to bring that up. When He bring it up, then it'll drop like a drop when it drop. So anyway, so yeah. So that was the plight. This man had so many concubines, so many women in his harem that, like Solomon, there wasn't enough days to entertain one per day. That's not the will of God, that you have a day with the king. You think that's the will of God, that He brings you before a man who is of the world, because he has authority and power, only to be his. Now with Esther it was different, and that's why it was a different situation, because remember, these are entire people that's about to be annihilated. So for this cause, God calls Esther. But y'all's story ain't the same. And while there's, all I can say in that instance, pray God sends you a man of God who has the wealth of the wicked, who is after God's own heart. Okay? Not for a wealthy man that you can influence because you have his ear. Alright? Because there's a consequence behind it. Esther still had to share. The story didn't, even though she was the queen, the story didn't change. She still had to share him with the rest of the harem. You got to understand that the harem represents different nations. Okay, these are different women from different nations to make alliances. As a king, you have to have multiple heirs to the throne. It was business, and it ain't personal. So it wasn't about love. It was about the succession and the successfulness of the kingdom. That's where Solomon messed up, because he took on all of these women from different nations, and they was heathens. They was out here practicing all types of witchcraft or idolatry, which was, whoredom before God. So anyway, that's that. I'm done with that. Let's hop over here to Esther. To Ruth and Boaz. And this one is a different story. And it's more of a beautiful story. But it also has its downfall. Okay? It also has its hang-ups. Because what it looks like in the natural and the world sense, look at it from the world sense and get an understanding. And all I get is get an understanding. My people perish for the lack of knowledge. Why? Because you're not looking at it from the world stance. You're not looking at it from a perspective that will keep you safe. You're looking at it from the perspective of the scriptures, and it's really built for the individuals that's in it. But you also got to understand that you need a level of discernment to know whether or not that fits your life, whether or not that is who He has called you to be. Ruth was a young woman. Boaz was an older man. He was a lot older. There's a lot of people that's looking for a Boaz. You see a lot of young women in nowadays, and you're looking at this old man, and you see this little young 25-year-old, that's about to inherit millions because this dude is, on his last leg. Yeah, in the natural, that's what that looks like. Now he may have been good to her, which he was. I'm sure he was not only a father figure to her, but he loved her. Okay, and she loved him. That match is, I don't know. To me, personally, it kind of reminds me of Abraham and Sarah. If the story was reversed and Hagar was the one that was favored, because the truth is that he should have been paired up with Naomi, but Naomi couldn't bring a seed. Boom. So again, you gotta think about it.